I'm kind of like, oh my God, I'm talking to Prince. But at the same time, he's also like a music friend or music fan. I'm like, oh, this is, Mason Jennings. He's kind of like a Dylan kind of singer-songwriter. And he's like watching him, nodding his head. He's like, yeah, I can hear the Dylan thing. Sure. And we're talking. And I was just like, hey, thank you so much for coming. And he said to me the best thing that anyone's ever said to me that's an artist of that kind of stature.
And that is the voice of radio personality and assistant program director of XPN, Jim McGuinn. By the way, check out our website on Instagram. It's JoshDJ57. That's JoshDJ57. We talk about mainly food reviews, but we also have a couple other cool features here and there, as well as some pictures. Again, JoshDJ57 at Instagram. Now, Jim, you're currently in Philadelphia right now, right?
Yeah, so I work for WXPN, which is the University of Pennsylvania's owns the license as a radio station, but it's a full signal here in Philly. It's been there for decades, and one of the preeminent AAA stations, one of the first non-com AAA stations, who's also the home for the World Cafe radio show, which is syndicated on public radio across over 300 outlets. So we've been doing, music discovery and music celebration here for a long time. This is my second tour of duty. I ended up going from St. Louis to the station called WDRE, which is an alternative station in Philly. That station got sold to Radio 1, got flipped. I went across the street to a station called Y100, WPLY. I was there for 7 or 8 years. That station got bought by Radio 1, got flipped. And the reason we got flipped is that we had built a morning show that was really good. These guys, Preston and Steve, and they ended up getting an offer to go across the street to MMR, the legendary rock station, at double what we were paying them. We could not match the offer, so the company flipped our format. So when that happened, I ended up going over. We started an internet radio station in my spare bedroom, and eventually we joined forces with XPN to provide like a secondary stream / volunteer station. I was really into the idea of like this community radio station doing like left of center alternative music. Mm-hmm. And we became the kind of the younger end station for XPN. But about a year or so into that, an opening came up for the afternoon slot on XPN, and they offered me the job. So I started doing afternoons at XPN. I thought that was the end of I thought that was the last job I was going to take because it's such a great place to work. It's such a fun place to do afternoons or be a DJ. And then a year or so after that, the Current lost their PD, and that was a great opportunity because they were also a station, just like when I went to St. Louis and the station was pretty young and hadn't quite figured out, like I would say the if you're sculpting and the cement is still wet, it was like that, right? Like you could still form the shape of what the station was going to be because the station was only 3 years old at the time. And so I got there and we were able to take the Current from kind of this fringe station to right now it's number 5, 6+ in Minnesota. So
wow.
It's a station that really, really matured and became very, very successful over the early aughts. And I had so many adventures in Minnesota. I mean, I ended up meeting Prince and hanging out with Prince and stuff like that. And we had a lot of really great moments. But then in 2022, I moved back to Philly. And so now I'm at XPN again. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now, did you go to Target Field much when you were in Minneapolis?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Great baseball park. And the Twins were good when I got there. Then they were terrible for several years. And then they got good again right when I was leaving. So, yeah. But Max Kepler, who was in the Twins for about 10 years, is now on the Phillies. So I get a little bit of Minnesota back here.
There you go. I got to meet, when I went to Target Field, their organist, Sue Nelson, who also played for many years for the Minnesota North Stars hockey team. She's actually there. You can approach her, and it's really cool. Yeah. She's got all these, the Minnesota Bear, I forget the name of it, the mascot, where she'll give the kids a copy of it.
What is he called? My kid was terrified of him when he was young, and it took him a while to grow out of that. TC the Bear.
Yeah, that's right.
It's Twin Cities. Yeah.
TC. And so what people will do is they'll take it home and then they'll bring it back, and she's got all these various colorings right on her organ. It's like, it's awesome. It's just like all over the place in that room. And also went to the Mall of America. That was pretty fun.
Sure.
I didn't really go on the.
You've got all you measure all of your travel by the ballparks. I love that. Yeah, that's a great park. The other great thing about that park is it's right in the heart of the city. So it's not pushed out to some place where you can have a lot of parking lots. It's kind of bam right in the center, and it's about 2 blocks from maybe the most legendary music venue in America, one of the most legendary music venues in America, which is called First Avenue. And First Avenue is a club that holds about 1,500. It was in the 30s, it was a bus station, but in the 70s, it became a venue called the Depot. Joe Cocker's Mad Dogs and Englishmen was the first band that toured in 1970 that played at the Depot. Eventually, it became called First Avenue, and it's where anybody that's seen Purple Rain, that's First Avenue. Anybody, all those bands that came up through Minneapolis, like the Replacements, where we started talking today, or Husker Du, or Semisonic, or the Jayhawks, or Soul Asylum, that was the home base right there, was First Avenue, one of the great venues to this day. And it's about 2 blocks from Target Field.
Wow. And how many events did the radio station, the current host at that venue?
Oh, all the time. So one of my favorite things that we ever did was it was pretty much like the end of my first year there. It was January of 2010, and the station was turning 5. And the station shared a birthday with my son, who was turning 4 that time. And we decided to have a 5th anniversary party. And we had a few bands playing this party, right? And we were DJing between the bands and stuff like that. And I reached out to a few artists that were from Minnesota but didn't live in Minnesota to see if they would send us like a video. And we would play the video between the bands, kind of like, actually Dan Wilson from Semisonic is one of the artists, sort of like he sent a video and it's like, hey, everybody, it's Dan Wilson. Wish I could be there at the current birthday party. Hope you're having a great time. We'll see you soon. That kind of like short video. And one of the people that I sent out the ask to was Prince, his management person. And he had just moved back to Minnesota, but I didn't even bother thinking, anything other than maybe he'll send us a video, right? He's Prince. And the day before the show, I get this call from his assistant, this is the sentence you never expect to hear in your life. I was talking to Prince today, and we decided we wanted to come to your party. And I'm like, okay, what do I do? What do I do when Prince is going to show up to a sold-out show? And the assistant goes, just tell First Avenue. They'll know what to do. Okay. So I call the venue. I'm like, hey, you guys, I just got a call from the Prince camp. They think they're going to come to the show tomorrow night. And the person from First Avenue goes, okay, we'll be on purple alert, and kind of rolls their eyes. Like, apparently it happened a lot where he would say he was going to go to a show, but he wouldn't show up. So I'm like, purple alert, that's hilarious, which just meant like their door people would be on the lookout in case he showed up. So he shows up. It's a sold-out show, and goes up into this area that's called the owner's box, which is like plexiglass around it. It's above the mixing board. You can see in, but it's private. And the assistant's like, yo, we're here. And so I go running up there, and I'm introduced to Prince, and he hung out for about a half an hour with us there at that show. And, I'm kind of like, oh my God, I'm talking to Prince. But at the same time, he's also like a music friend or music fan, So I'm like, oh, this is, Mason Jennings. He's kind of like a Dylan kind of singer-songwriter. And he's like watching him, nodding his head. He's like, yeah, I can hear the Dylan thing. Sure. And we're talking. And I was just like, hey, thank you so much for coming. And he said to me the best thing that anyone's ever said to me that's an artist or an artist of that kind of stature. And he goes, I am here tonight because of what you guys mean to this community. So he knew that his showing up, whether he liked the artist that we were booking or whatever, that meant so much as a credibility, as a endorsement from, he's Prince. He's like one of the most famous artists in the world at that point. So That was incredible. And then later, he invited me out to Paisley Park, and we had hangs, and we would get the radio station would be invited out to private concerts and stuff like that. So that was one of the most special things that ever happened for me in my career. And then the flip side of that is that I was there when he passed away, and it was awful, but it was also beautiful because there was a guy on our staff that was in charge of helping organize events in the community. And he was like, we got to have a concert now, tonight. He died at noon, maybe 11 a.m. And we called the city. We got a permit. We called First Avenue. We got a permit in front of First Avenue to shut the street down, had a stage built, got a hold of a bunch of people that had played with Prince to be the house band, got a bunch of singers to come and sing, got the one that was cool. She wasn't yet super famous, but she was famous in Minnesota, was Lizzo, who was coming in from L.A.
Oh, yeah.
And by the time she got off the plane back in Minnesota, because she was living in Minnesota, she lived in Minnesota for about 6 or 7 years. When she got to Minnesota, there were so many people there. We had to part the crowd so she could get to the stage, And we had this Prince tribute, and there were 20,000 people in the street. I was on CNN. We were on all these TV, worldwide television coverage was the Currents street party celebrating the life of this, talk about dearly beloved, this dearly beloved artist who had passed away. And, still, it's one of those moments that just in your career, you look at and go, wow, that was really wild to be in the middle of so much sadness, but also so much love.
Well, I mean, just hearing those stories about Prince, and because I remember when that had happened, I was like, dang, I mean,
yeah,
it just because the guy had seemed to have gotten clean and stuff, and unfortunately, that fentanyl is just horrible stuff. I mean, I didn't even know about it really until a couple of years after that. I thought fentanyl was the same thing as meth, which it's not, and just. I say to people, look, if you're going to smoke marijuana, get the legal stuff, not the illegal stuff, because the illegal stuff oftentimes is laced with fentanyl.
You don't know, and it doesn't take much to kill you with that. And I think for somebody like that, he's so there's a shame, and you can't, Prince can't ask for help, right? There's this thing. This myth, right? And so I think that led to him probably acquiring substances not through the best means. And then he ended up getting burned by it. So it's tragic. It's still tragic. I mean, there's still days when I'm like, why aren't you here with us, man? We could use an artist like Prince for the last 8 or 9 years that we haven't had. So.
Yeah. I mean, also Tom Petty around the same time passed away, and I was like, man, totally. I mean, a friend of mine who I think met him a couple times actually had hung out with him about a week before he died, I think. And, Tom was in great spirits, and he says, if you had told me that he'd be gone a week later, I would have said you're crazy. Yeah.
Petty, I mean, amazing artist. And I think somebody that, the music industry, I don't want to say that the music industry took him for granted, but there was a sense of it's Petty, he's always here, and as soon as he was gone, you had this tremendous sense of loss across so many artists felt it, so many fans obviously felt it, and he's one of the great American artists of all time, absolutely. So.
It was interesting because going back to Roger McGuinn, the first time McGuinn heard Tom Petty, he said to the person who played the album for him, he said, when did I record that? Yeah, well, American Girl definitely sounds like a bird song for sure, and that magic that Petty and Mike Campbell had is still some of the most greatest music ever made, for me at least. This is the Talking Archive. I'm Josh Jacobs. By the way, subscribe to our YouTube channel right now. It's free, and you can get updates about our latest podcasts. Tell your friends. And next time, Jim talks about more stories of Mike Campbell from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.